Hello and welcome to our T-Level Healthcare Science Preparing for Year 1 delivery recording. So our aim is to support staff in delivering the TQ in Healthcare Science, focusing on Year 1 content. By the end of this session, you will identify approaches to curriculum planning and core content delivery. We will explore teaching and learning strategies for preparing students for core assessments. And we'll explore best practice in formative assessment, bringing knowledge to life and building on the students' core knowledge. So what's in Year 1? So before we explore this in more detail, let's explore the components of the TQ. So in Year 1, students will focus on core content, core skills, and general competencies. In Year 2, the emphasis will shift to occupational specialism knowledge and occupational specialism skills. The core component includes a written exam consisting of Paper A and Paper B, as well as an employer set project, with the occupational specialism involving synoptic assignments. In regards to important documents, at the bottom of each Qual Details tab on the NCFE qualification page, you will see links to 3 useful documents. First, you have the key date schedule, which lists all assessment series for the next 2 academic years. There is also the Regulations for Conduct of External Assessment, which contains generic instruction for assessment, such as secure storage, invigilation arrangement, starting the assessment, and factors such as students arriving late. We also have the qualification-specific instructions for delivery, or QSID, which breaks down requirements for each assessment and each qualification, such as whether or not it's supervisor and invigilated, whether they can have access to the computer or an internet, if an online assessment version is available, and whether or not the assessment's on a set date or time or within a window. When planning and teaching delivery, it is really important to consider the following components. Obviously, you have the core section A and B for those foundational coverage of topics. You have the core skills, which are essential for students for academic and professional growth. You then have the general competency framework, which is aligning teaching with maths, English and digital competencies required for the course and future careers. Through academic skills, you can foster skills such as critical thinking, research, and academic writing. Teach strategies for effectively approaching and excelling in exams. Use ongoing assessments to gauge student understanding and provide feedback. Conduct practice exams to prepare students for the actual assessments. Encourage students to take initiative and responsibility for their own learning outside the classroom. Providing techniques for effective revision and retention of information. And finally, instilling professional attitudes and behaviours expected in the workplace. So as well as these components, there are external factors and commitments that may impact your delivery. Beware of all important dates for exams, assessments and project deadlines. Plan for district placement, consider during the summer between the first and second year and how they integrate with the curriculum. Review any existing commitments or plans that might affect your delivery schedule and adjust accordingly. Also utilise the summer between the first and the second year for any project work or knowledge building, ensuring it complements the academic content. Plan combinations of core and occupational specialism content carefully to ensure students are prepared for assessment. Note that there is only one attempt at the final assessment at the end of Year 2, with an option for the first core assessment attempt in the autumn series of Year 2. Effective long-term planning is essential to balance core and OS content, ensuring students are well prepared for their assessment and industry placement. Now let's explore approaches that you could take from curriculum design. In these approaches, the hypothetical approaches, we're exploring it with 3 tutors being available for the delivery of the course. However, your resources at your centre may differ from this. So tutor 1 will teach 2 sections of paper A. Tutor 2 will teach one section of paper A and B1, and tutor 3 will deliver the final section of the paper and B2 further science concepts. Each of the tutors will also deliver core skills. A second approach is where tutor 1 does all of paper A, tutor 2 does all of paper B, and then tutor 3 delivers the healthcare science ESP. A third approach is combining elements. So this is where you have the opportunity to combine across A and B content. So here you've got A1, A3, A6, and B1. You can then also incorporate key skills and key knowledge and skills from year 2, which is relevant to what you're delivering in year 1. What this will allow for is more contextualization and application of that core knowledge. So it's entirely up to you which approach that you undertake, and you may find that actually it's a combination of these approaches that works well for you and your students. So the assessment objectives for the exams are A1 to A03, moving from lower level to the higher level. These are the same for all TQs. When exploring the specification, you will find the weightings for A1, A02, and A03. There are 5 assessment outcomes for the employer set project. AO2 focuses on the pathway, core skills, and core knowledge. This is usually around about 50% of the overall weighting. And this highlights the importance of the application of vocational knowledge and the application of vocational skills. A4 looks at the effective use of general competency framework in the assessment, with AO5 really focusing on the evaluation and reflection of skills. Core skills are an important part of the TQ and are assessed in the ESP. Here you have your 6 core skills for healthcare science. And then on the right, you have tasks from previous series. You'll find more detail on the core skills in the specification with content that you can deliver. And you can also find in the tutor guidance for the employer set project and the briefs how each core and where each core skill maps to each of the tasks. The general competency framework applies to all T levels, and it can be found in your specification. These English, Maths and digital competencies are seen as fundamental for the vocational areas. You will also find in the document a mapping document where, in the spec, sorry, a mapping document where it maps the English, Maths and digital competencies to the core skills and to the skills in year 2. So this means if you're delivering, for example, and obviously this is only just a snapshot and doesn't cover all English, Maths and digitals that's in the spec. If you were delivering CS1, you can clearly see that GEC2, GEC3 and GEC3 links to CS1, and if then you know that CS1 is linked to task 1 of the ESP, you can see this 3-way mapping that you can do. So when you're delivering your lesson, you can go, right, this is how it would link to the core skill, this is how we can then implement it, and how then the students can then utilize it. So why is it important? So the GCF, which includes Maths, English and digital skills, is crucial in ensuring students develop the necessary competencies to successfully enter the industry. It provides a structured approach to building these essential skills required in the workplace. The GCF helps support students during their industry placement by ensuring they have strong foundational skills in Maths, English and digital literacy. This alignment ensures students can effectively apply their knowledge in real-world settings. And in addressing these skills, it's really important as they are assessed in the core exams in the employer set project. Recent T-level assessment series have shown that students are scoring low in these areas, highlighting a need for targeted support and improvement. Feedback from providers, including Ofsted inspection, has pointed out gaps in skill development. For instance, during an inspection, a student was asked, how are your maths and English skills being developed whilst you're studying the T-level? This question underscores the need for clear integrated strategies to enhance these skills throughout the course. By addressing these areas, educators can ensure students are better prepared for both their assessment and their future careers. So what else should be incorporated into delivery? So in addition to the IELTS curriculum planning, teaching strategy and assessment management, there are several other crucial elements that should be incorporated into the delivery of the T-level programme. And these are just some of the areas that we have identified. So you have professional behaviours and skills, which is obviously it's important that students are demonstrating professionalism from respect, punctuality, ethical conduct, being able to summarise information effectively and synthesise diverse pieces of data. Mastery of both written and verbal communication is fundamental. Developing strong problem solving and critical thinking skills. And utilising evidence-based research that decisions and practices are grounded in with the latest and most reliable information. So incorporating these elements into delivery not only enhances students' performance, but also contributes to overall success. By developing and integrating these skills, students can achieve greater effectiveness and drive better and stronger outcomes. So formative assessment also is an important component of delivery, and it can help both the teacher and student understanding what needs to be learned and how this can be achieved. During the learning process, formative assessment can identify students' progress as well as highlighting gaps in their knowledge and understanding, therefore giving the teacher useful insight as to what feedback and instructions can be provided to continue moving learners forward. Formative assessment takes place during the learning process. It continually informs the teacher and student as to how learning can move forward as it is happening. This is different to summative assessment, which focuses on the evaluation of student learning at the end of the process. So these are just some methods of formative assessment, and no doubt you already utilise these within your delivery. From analysing student work, through self-assessment or peer assessment, using three-way summaries, where students write 3 summaries in response to a topic of increasing length to test understanding of the content, utilising 1-minute papers, students write briefly about a topic, summarising their key learning. Summary paragraphs, so short writing exercises to see how well students have understood an idea. So these are just some examples of formative assessment that you could explore within your delivery. As well as formative assessment and developing key skills, it is really also crucial to enrich learning experiences for fostering deeper understanding, critical thinking, and long-term retention of knowledge. By incorporating diverse and interactive activities, you can engage students in meaningful ways that goes beyond instructional methods. So here's some of our ideas. So you've got external speakers, could do a play, taskmaster style. These can all still apply to the content, but they can be fun, engaging, and also increase student motivation. So that's our first part of this session, where we've explored that curriculum planning, curriculum design, and what's in delivery. Now we're going to explore some key development areas for assessments. So beginning with core exams. So paper A and paper B have distinct mark allocations for AOs and quality of written communication, or QWC. As you can see, AO2 has the highest percentage weighting of marks. And then for both papers, there are maths marks and quality of written, for paper B there's maths marks, and for both papers there's quality of written communication marks. So QWC contributes 24 marks in total. Understanding this breakdown helps students effectively allocate their time and effort across different components of the examination. Now we're going to explore extended responses questions in more detail because they have a significant weighting in the overall assessment outcomes. We do have a bite-sized video that goes into even more detail, and I'll be touching on some of it next, but it goes into more detail. It talks about how an ERQ is structured, how to mark it, how to answer it. So this really should give you you and even your students an opportunity to know the ERQs inside out. But I wanted to give you a bit of an introduction to this today so that you can explore key areas to develop within your curriculum planning. So extended response questions, or ERQs, are a crucial aspect of T-level exams. They're not merely about recalling facts. They're designed to assess students' ability to think critically and deeply about the subject matter. They serve a specific purpose. They go beyond rote memorization and challenge students to analyse, evaluate and summarise. By doing so, they assess students' higher order thinking skills, which are essential for success in further education and the workplace. There are various types of ERQ students might encounter. They may align to one specific or multiple commands, depending. So first off, we have analytic ERQs, which will present students with scenarios or case studies, prompting students to provide reasoned arguments or solutions. Evaluative ERQs will require students to weigh different perspectives or theories within the subject area and justify their opinions. Applicative ERQs will ask students to apply their knowledge to real-world situations and explain the potential implications or outcomes. Comparative ERQs will task students with comparing and contrasting different theories, methodologies, or approaches. And finally, significance ERQs will prompt students to discuss the significance or relevance of certain concepts or ideas within the subject. Mastering ERQs is not just about knowing the content. It's about being able to think critically, analyse information effectively, and communicate students' understanding clearly. So here are some top tips for ERQs and QWC. First, understanding the question is key. Students need to take time to dissect the question, identify key terms, and understand what's being asked. Next, they need to plan a response before diving into writing. They need to outline main points and the structure of the answer to ensure clarity and coherence. When it comes to QWC, clarity is paramount. Use clear and concise language and structure the response with an introduction, main body, and conclusion. Students need support points with evidence and examples. Whether it's theories, case studies, or real-world examples, backing up argument strengthens the response. They need to engage in critical thinking and analysis. They need to be able to evaluate different perspectives, theories, or implications of the points to demonstrate depth of understanding. And lastly, they need to review and edit their response. Students should check for clarity, coherence, and relevance and edit for grammar, spelling, and punctuation errors. Taking the time to refine the answer can significantly enhance its quality. So finally, some key takeaways from the Chief Examiner's report. And hopefully these can set as a guidelines for you to help support them excel in their responses. So ERQs require students to demonstrate a thorough understanding of key concepts, theories, and principles relevant to the question. It's essential to showcase a solid foundation of knowledge in the subject matter. Students are expected to showcase their critical thinking skills by analysing information, evaluating different perspectives or arguments, and demonstrating a logical approach to problem solving. Practical application of theoretical knowledge is crucial in ERQs. Students should be able to apply their understanding to real-world scenarios, demonstrating the relevance and applicability of their knowledge. Clear and coherent communication is essential in ERQs. They should articulate their ideas clearly, using appropriate terminology and structure to convey their understanding effectively. ERQs often require students to delve into complex issues and provide insightful analysis. It is important to demonstrate the ability to explore different viewpoints and offer well-supported conclusions. Students should be able to synthesize information from various sources, integrating ideas to develop a comprehensive and well-rounded argument in their responses. Providing evidence, examples, or data to support argument is key in ERQs. Students should justify their reasoning with sound, rational, and logical explanations. It is essential to maintain relevance and focus in ERQ responses, addressing the question prompt directly and avoiding tangents or irrelevant information. Responses should be presented in a clear, organised and coherent manner, with logical structure that facilitates understanding for the reader. And proficiency in written communication skills, including grammar, spelling, punctuation, and overall presentation, is crucial to ensure this response is well received by the examiner. By meeting these expectations, students can excel in ERQs and demonstrate their comprehensive understanding and analytical abilities effectively. So I hope you've managed to pick out a key development areas that you can explore within your delivery to support your students' outcomes in the core exams. We are now going to explore the employer set project. So similar to the exam, within your healthcare science playlist, we also have bite-sized recordings for the ESP. So each task is taken in its own merit, explored, defined, then the marking grid is explored, and even a graded exemplar from an A student is explored and referenced within each task. Similar to the exams, we're actually going to take a few tiered approach. We're going to explore an ESP at a glance to give you that quick overview. We're going to look at some chief examiners' feedback. And then we're going to look at each task in a bit more detail. So not as detailed as each of the bite-sized videos, but touching on those so that as part of this preparing for your one delivery workshop, you have everything you need to prepare your students for assessment as well. So ESP at a glance. So the healthcare science ESP project involves the following key tasks. Task 1, which is the research literature review, is 5 hours. Students will collate information and data from provided resources with browsing history required for verification. Task 2 is the quality improvement report, which is 3 hours. So the creation of a QIR to address and resolve a specific problem, utilising a pro forma, database resources and browsing history. The peer discussion is up to 5.33 hours. It's a structured discussion among peers using a pro forma, focusing on summarising changes, improvements to the QIR. Presentation of the QIR is 2.33 hours. So they will present an overview of the QIR followed by a discussion. This involves using a pro forma, audio recording and presentation software. And finally, the reflective account, which is 2 hours. And it's a reflective evaluation that includes a copy of evidence from the previous task, allowing students to access their learning and progress. So the ESP aims to integrate practical skills with theoretical knowledge, preparing students for real-world application in healthcare science. So let's explore overall feedback from the Summer 23 series before we delve into more specific tasks. Compared to previous sessions, there was a slight improvement in student performance across all 5 tasks of the Employer Set project. However, the distribution of marks were concentrated at the lower bands, with very few students achieving high marks. High marks required consistent performance across all tasks. The difficulty level of the SP tasks remained consistent with previous sessions, indicating that the tasks were of equal complexity. Students made simple mistakes or omissions that resulted in missing out on some marks. One example was Task 4B, where evidence of the student's presentation was required for digital skills marks. There were fewer instances of missing evidence, whereas observed in this session, likely due to improved systems for identifying gaps. Typed evidence was generally clear and readable. Some submissions for Task 4B had issues with audio quality. Some providers uploaded MP4 or MP3 files, but care was needed to ensure clear sound. File formats like WAV were problematic. So now let's explore each task in a bit more detail. So task 1. So as I mentioned, this is 5 hours. It's collation of information and data from a range of provided sources, demonstrating application and learning of knowledge. The students have access to the project brief, computer access, NCFE literature database, and they are required to submit a literature review along with their browsing history. So in regards to performance insights, students' performance varied across different marking bands, reflecting diverse responses. All students achieved basic proficiency in language use. Higher scoring students effectively used online resources and linked their research to relevant case studies. And top performers were able to draw specific and relevant conclusions, demonstrating a strong understanding of the topic. For task 2, the quality improvement report, this is 3 hours allocated to this task, where they need to create a quality improvement report, a learning approach to resolve problems identified in the project brief. This again was supervised. The students had access to project brief, computer access, NCFE literature database, copy of literature review from task 1, and a QIR pro forma. This task required evidence, included the QIR document and browsing history. So performance insights for this task. Again, a wide range of marks were observed, reflecting diverse student abilities and approaches. Effective structuring of reports using the pro forma was noted, although some students provided minimal responses requiring more detail. High-scoring students produced contextualized and detailed responses within the case study framework. Effective referencing and utilisation of provided resources were crucial for gaining marks in English, maths and digital skills. For task 3, so you have task 3A where students prepare for peer discussion and exchange feedback. This portion is not marked. And then 3B, students used received feedback to summarise planned changes to the QIR. Important, no changes are made to the task 2 evidence. So 3A part 1 is up to 2 hours for preparation and tutor review. Task 3A2 includes 20 minutes of preparation, 5 minutes presentation per student and 10 to 20 minutes for receiving feedback. And 3B is to be completed within 1 hour of the supervised assessment. The students will have access to the QIR from task 2 with copies for peers, pro forma, feedback notes, either handwritten to be scanned before submission or typed, and a written summary of changes planned for the QIR. So some key observations. Some students misunderstood the task requirements, resulting in incomplete or incorrect submissions, affecting their marks. High-scoring students produced detailed reports showcasing comprehensive discussions and earning higher marks. Successful students provided well-justified reasons for accepting or declining feedback, demonstrating a deep understanding of the subject matter. And the task emphasised the importance of critical and reflective thinking, prompting students to thoughtfully consider feedback and articulate the responses clearly. This task is designed to enhance student skills in communication, critical analysis, and application of constructive criticism in a professional context. So task 4, this is where they present an overview of the QIR. And again, this is broken into 2 parts. So 4A is preparation of a presentation overview based on the quality improvement report. And 4B is delivery of the presentation and the discussion of the report with the tutor. This stage may occur on separate days. The students get up to 2.33 hours allocated for preparing and practicing the presentation. And then presentation and discussion scheduled separately. So the students will need project brief, computer and presentation software. So for example, PowerPoint, assessment sheet with tutor questions and audio recording equipment. Evidence to be submitted was presentation slides, practice notes if there are any, audio recording of the presentation and tutor observation notes. So key areas of observations. There were significant variations in the length of presentations, which affected the level of detail and demonstration of knowledge. Digital skills were also assessed, emphasising the importance of effective use of presentation software. Many students showed growth in confidence as they presented, gradually overcoming initial nervousness. The clarity and quality of audio recordings were essential for proper evaluation and assessment. Clear recordings ensured that all aspects of the presentation, including the Q&A segments, were captured. To receive full marks, it was important that the recordings captured the entire presentation, including the tutor's Q&A session, rather than just the main presentation content. And finally, task 5, which requires the students to conduct a reflective evaluation of their work in relation to the project brief. This task serves the final step in this series of assessment, emphasising critical self-assessment and personal growth. So 2 hours were allocated for the completion of this task. Materials needed are project brief, copies of evidence from previous tasks 1 to 4. Audio recordings or tutor notes from questions are not permitted as resources. And then the students then submit a reflective account documenting the evaluation. So key challenges and observations. Many students face difficulty in securing high marks for this task. The primary challenge lay in the depth and quality of their reflections. Simply mentioning reflective cycles, such as Gibbs reflective cycle, was not sufficient for achieving high marks. The quality of the reflection, how well students applied these cycles to analyse their experiences, was critical. Higher scoring students exhibit a deeper level of reflection. They effectively connected their experiences from the project to their future professional development and personal growth, demonstrating an increased self-awareness. And in contrast, less successful submissions often lack depth and fail to critically engage with the material. This task carries significant weight with a maximum of 16 marks. This underscores the importance of dedicating adequate time to teach and practice reflective skills, ensuring that the students understand how to critically assess their experiences and articulate their learning journey. So that is our overview now of curriculum design and planning. We've also explored assessment readiness by exploring key development areas for the different components. This should help give you some strategies and some ideas of focus areas that you're going to incorporate within your delivery and preparing for year 1. So next, let's explore what's available for you to support you within delivery. So you have the Hodder textbook, which is the Healthcare Science core textbook, which covers the core content, which has clear definitions alongside practice questions. This will help support delivery alongside your specification. As mentioned earlier, there is a Healthcare Science playlist available, which has all previous recordings and bite-sized videos that we have mentioned. Additionally, we have the T-Level Provider Hub, which is ever growing and developing, and key changes are going to happen over the next year on this hub, giving you more and more utilisation and resourcing on it. You also have curriculum consultation with myself, which is a virtual 1 hour meet and your centre across the first 2 years of your delivery, and they focus on teaching and learning. And then you also have your dedicated email for T-Level customer support, which is available there as well. So please take a few minutes to complete this feedback form. Your insights are valuable. So to wrap up, the aim of this session was to support you in delivering the Healthcare Science TQ, specifically around year 1. I hope you've been able to identify some approaches to curriculum planning and core content delivery, explored some teaching and learning strategies for preparing for core assessments, and explored practice with informative assessment, bringing knowledge to life and building on students' core knowledge. Thank you for watching this T-Level Healthcare Science Preparing for Year 1 delivery recording.